Bearded Monkey here for Razor's Edge. Today I'm talking to Aaron, lead singer and bassist from Shrapnel. Welcome, mate. How are you?
All good, man. What are you saying?
Yeah, man. Not too bad. How's things your end?
Yeah, it's all good. I just had a packet of smoky bacon crisps. Got no beer in the fridge, so that's a bit sad. But apart from that, all is well.
Oh, man, you need to start packing the fridge up ready for interviews.
Oh, I know. It's just sad, isn't it, really? Amateur.
Yeah, I suppose it is only 1:56 in the afternoon, so it might be frowned upon since we're not at festivals or anything like that anymore.
If we were on tour, we'd be drinking at this time anyway, so...
Exactly. Just pretend that you're on tour. Well, mate, you're relatively new to Shrapnel, aren't you? So you're kind of the baby at the moment. Last time I saw you were playing guitar for Kilohertz.
I played, God, that was 2 years back now, man.
I know, man. How did the opportunity come around then, and how did you feel when getting offered the position of bassist and lead singer for Shrapnel?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, really. I mean, March 2019, they needed a fill-in guitar for tour with Wolf around the UK. It was 13 days, can't remember. We were drunk a lot.
Yeah.
So they asked me to step into that, and I said, yeah, fine, I'll do it. At that point, the bassist Kai was thinking about leaving because he had university and other things he needed to do. Jay, the singer, was sort of like, didn't know whether he wanted to stay because he basically runs his own business and stuff was getting busy there.
Yeah.
And then, eventually they sort of decided they didn't want to be part of Shrapnel in one way or another. And they asked me to join on bass and vocals, and I said no. So
yeah, fair enough. How did that go down?
They just got me. I think they just kept digging at me. Really, just kept going. Oh, come on, join, and eventually they just had to keep getting me drunk.
Yeah.
So, and that worked in the end. Free beer, mate. I'll do anything for beer.
Oh, no, fair play, man. Fair play. So look, obviously, how's it feel now to be the frontman for Shrapnel? Are things going well?
Yeah, things are going great. I mean, it's nice to be fronting the band again. It's what I love more than anything, is fronting the band, getting up in people's faces live,
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a bit daunting because I hadn't sung in 6 years, and it was like, as soon as I joined, they were like, straight in, new album, let's get lyrics done, let's get vocal demos done, and I was like, fuck, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shit, okay, fine. So I was checked in at the deep end, but we gel really well as people and as musicians, so it's easy. It's easy now.
Awesome, man. Well, obviously, you just sort of mentioned about the new album. So your new album, Palace for the Insane, come out in April?
Came out in May 15th.
Came out in May 15th, that's it. It's a bit different to the previous Shrapnel that we've heard before. What was the direction that you guys were heading in?
So I'm going to say 80% of the material was written before I joined, but it sort of there was a lot of mid-pace stuff, and we wanted to make the album different. I mean, they've always said, and I agree with them, that no album should ever be the same as its predecessor, because there's no point, because if not, you might as well just release the same album again.
Yeah.
So going from, the straight-out balls to the wall thrashers, virus conspires, to the more extreme side with Raised on Decay, we wanted to do something that was memorable, that had hooks and that people could sing along to and they'd remember the words, good patterns,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we were going for. We just wanted to be remembered for this album. We wanted people to remember the songs and want to listen to it again and get that chorus stuck in their head, and
yeah.
I think we achieved it.
Awesome, man. So, sort of talking about the writing process and things like that. So, the lyrical content, I sort of read somewhere where you were sort of saying about how you decided to change from writing about war and things like that to talking more about sort of personal issues and things like that. So kind of like my question really is, how do you guys write your lyrics in the band? Now that you've joined, is it something that you've taken over, or is it something that you still write as a band? And kind of where do you get your inspiration from?
I mean, we all get inspiration from different places. I mean, with Begin Again, the new video and single we've released, that was very much, something we set out to do from the get-go because of, the passing of a friend to suicide, and it's something we've all struggled with the mental health issues and things like that. So that's something we want to do, and me and me and Chris, guitarist Chris, banded together to sort of like get the lyrics done for that. But apart from that, I mean, it can be of anything really. So Chris will write a lot of almost political, the world is fucked, the government shit sort of lyrics, and I come from more of a fantasy occult based side. So I mean, I'm gonna have to say, I mean, on this album, I think I probably wrote 60% of the lyrics, and then 40% of it was Chris and some of the songs we all sort of banded together. But I mean, lyrics are lyrics, man. I don't care who writes them as long as they're good and people remember them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, definitely. Well, what was the process in the studio? Did the album come together quite quickly, or did you spend a lot of time sort of perfecting and tweaking, sort of, you know, making sure it was the album that you wanted?
Oh man, if we could go back at the studio and re-record the album, we probably would. We'll never be happy with anything we do. There's always, well, I don't say happy is probably the wrong word, but you know, when you listen, you know yourself, you know, you've recorded albums.
Yeah.
When you listen to it, you're always thinking, oh, I could have changed that a little bit there, I could have changed that a little bit here.
Yeah.
And you'll never be satisfied. But I mean, it was a 4-month slog of drums, guitars, vocals, demos, and then straight in with the vocals. Yeah, it was a long process, but it was good. It was good. It all worked. It all seemed to flow quite well. We had Sam Turbett from Ritual Sound Studios coming down to us in Norwich, and you know, the drums, we travelled up there to Darlington for. The lyrics and the vocal demos was mainly me and Chris, with Nathan actually involved in some of them. So the whole Might of Sickness, the opening track, the vocal melody at the end was all Nathan's idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all get involved somehow, and the writing process is easy, but yeah, this one kind of just, we plucked it out of there really.
Is there like somebody within the band that is just like that perfectionist, that every note needs to be perfect, and they can hear that one snare that's off?
Yeah, that's Nate, right? So Nate has this thing of like everything has to be perfect, and if it isn't perfect, then it's shit.
Yeah.
But he does this thing, so he hates playing solos, hates recording solos, and he'll rewrite. He always writes a solo sort of like in the studio. He doesn't ever really nail one in concrete at home or in his home studio. So he will often get to the point where he sits there and goes, oh, I hate this, let's bin it all off, let's go let's just get drunk. So yeah, that's Nate. Nate's a perfectionist, definitely.
Fair enough, man. So a lot of thrash bands try to enhance their sound and by taking on different influences within their music. Do you kind of think this is important for a band to not limit themselves within one genre, or do you think for like fan purpose, marketing and branding, do you think it's better to be consistent in your sound?
Yeah, I do think it's important actually, especially with nowadays and how accessible music is and the oversaturation of, you know, how many bands are out there and how easy it is to get your music out there. You know, you've got things like Spotify and YouTube. You can easily get lost. So definitely, I think it is really important to bring in new styles and hone your own sound. But at the same time, older bands like you know, Onslaught, Zentrix, you know, they're still, in a way, doing the same things that they kind of did back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, the new Onslaught singles, they're sounding great, but I would, personally, as an Onslaught fan, I'd be kind of annoyed if they deviated too much from it, because, you know, it's nearly 40 years now of them doing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but I think it is important. I don't think there's you know, genres as a whole need to stagnate. Forward movement is always the best movement.
Yeah. Well, I say, look, I was talking to the guys from Eradicator, and obviously they were sort of saying about their last album. You know, they're like, in every album that they've done, they've tried to incorporate like different styles of music into it to find out what sort of works. You know, that they've tried prog with thrash, and you know, like, and obviously it's kind of what fans like and things like that. And it's just like, it's interesting to sort of go, okay, from a thrash band, how do you deviate? What other styles of music work with it and things like that. I think that's always quite interesting to sort of hear about, really.
Yeah, I mean, their last album was like almost Mastodon-esque, wasn't it? Like quite proggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's quite important, especially with like the smaller bands like us, Eradicator, the list could go on. But it's especially with thrash, there's sort of like there falls this elitism around thrash, where if it's not from 1986, then it sucks.
Yeah.
And that can leave you quite downtrodden as a newer band. So it's definitely all about moving the sound forward and finding what works for you. And if you have to walk away from the thrash side of things to get your music heard and do what you love, then go for it. I don't see the problem with it at all.
What's kind of what do you vision as Shrapnel's sound now? Obviously, going into now you've released this album. Going into your next release that you personally are going to be a part of, and obviously you just sort of said about 60% was already written and things like that. How are you going to mould Shrapnel's sound moving forward?
I mean, that's a difficult one because we all have different ideas. Album number 4 has started already. I mean, the demos, I'm going to say, are probably 80% there. We're hoping to be in the studio next year very early, but. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where I see our sound going because, Palace was great. So we hit some gold with Palace really in terms of finding the balance between thrash and incorporating newer influences. Yeah. I don't know, man. You could probably say sort of like a euthanasia sort of feel to it next, or a countdown to extinction maybe. That'd be a right sort of. The right way to go, I think. That's
sort of the heavy riffs, but with the lots of big choruses and melody and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're probably going to aim for. But we'll see, because you never know. We might get to the studio and scrap it all and write a new album.
Yeah. Who are some of your personal biggest influences? And are they quite mixed in the band, or do you all sort of agree on the bands that you listen to?
There's the obvious ones that we all agree on, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. But Nate pulls a lot of influences from nu metal bands, actually, which is quite different. He's heavily influenced by Deftones, and you can hear that in the track Begin Again, that opening riff, that sort of black hole bend. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, my influences are quite simple, really. Not even flashy musicians, most of them. People like Angel Ripper from Sodom, Burneman from Sodom as well. I'm more influenced on the German side of thrash, so. Yeah. And then Carcass, big Carcass fan. So.
Well, that was the next question I was going to sort of bring up, was obviously bringing in the dreaded COVID-19. So obviously the pandemic has shafted quite a few musicians.
Mate,
and
really.
You guys were set to do your big sort of performance over in Sweden at the House of Metal Festival, weren't you, early this year?
We played that,
but obviously, how is that sort of how has COVID-19 affected you guys starting back up?
So with releasing a record and just playing shows in general, and all these other bands that are now releasing records, you have Havoc, Warbringer, Onslaught are now releasing something. Those bands in that sort of situation, it's a massive boner killer, to be honest, because you've got this material you want to play to the world, and you want to spread the word and feel people sweat from the front row, but you can't do it because of COVID. So we'll see. I mean, they're talking about lifting it in August, right? At the end of August, or with restrictions. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be quite difficult. But we have a gig booked with Evil and Gamma Bomb in Manchester. I'm going to say Manchester. I think it's Manchester in October. And that's sold out. That was Rebellion, so that's completely sold out. So I don't know, what's going to happen going forward, but we'll see. Yeah. Bedroom gigs, mate, that's where it's at.
I say, hopefully, fingers crossed. There's some magical cure that flies down, and then that's it. We're all done.
I think the cure. I think with the cure should be gigs. It should be mandatory for people to get the gigs and support bands. Yeah, and I'm hoping that when COVID finally fucking does one, that it will make people more hungry to go to gigs, and everyone will be there, and people will be having a good time and drinking beer and enjoying the music more, because maybe that fear of it all being taken away again will sort of, give everybody in the scene a kick up the arse and just be like, yeah, let's support music, let's get bands heard and let's have a good time.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. I say, like, it's one of those things that, it'd been a while for me sort of going to gigs. I mean, because after I had my daughter, and I left my band and stuff like that, like, just finding the time to get out is just a big one. And obviously, once COVID-19 hit, and I was like, you know what, I haven't like been gagging for a gig as much as I have been in such a long time,
Yeah, definitely. And the same with musicians, you usually, I mean, you play Bloodstock and things like that. You go out and you gig, and it's a normal thing, and it's, it's your hobby or your part-time job. But when it's taken away from you, you're like, you take it for granted,
Yeah.
You take it for granted. You're like, shit, I really miss this. This is definitely, what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Well, I mean, just the simple things of, like wanting to get to band practice and things like that. I want to just go and chill with friends.
Yeah, just have a beer with mates, innit?
yeah, definitely. Do you feel that, sort of talking about the useful things through COVID, there's not much, but do you feel that social media has been quite useful for musicians throughout the pandemic?
I feel like yes and no. Yeah. I mean, everyone uses social media now. You have to for, everything really. Your life kind of revolves around it, unfortunately. I think social media has been great for getting out, new singles and things like that. But in terms of just general day-to-day use of social media when you're in a band, I mean, I hate it. I wish there was a different way. Yeah. Because I don't find it useful at all. I hate Facebook. I hate Twitter. I hate Instagram. I hate it all. Yeah. I wish it would go back to tape trading personally, like we were doing in high school. But it is useful. You can't deny it.
Yeah. No, well, it is one of those things where, like, I mean, me personally, I think if it wasn't for, I see social media as business, I think I'd quite happily. Well, to be fair, at the start of the whole pandemic thing, I switched it off for 2 weeks. So I was like, well, I ain't going to get no work done.
I don't blame you, mate. I don't blame you. It's shit. It's awful.
And to be fair, those 2 weeks were the best 2 weeks I think I've ever had, because I was just able to just concentrate on my family, and it was ace.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And obviously, you guys have sort of just released your album, as I say, Palace for the Insane. So you guys have released it obviously as physical and digital. Obviously, it's available on all the streaming sites and things like that. Do you feel that obviously there's this big talk about CDs, vinyl, cassettes versus the digital age and that sort of thing? Do you feel that CDs, vinyl, and cassettes are sort of limited, or do you feel that it's going to sort of have a resurgence?
I feel like, definitely feel like it's going to have a resurgence, man. I hope it does anyway, because I'm a bit of a sucker for CDs, vinyls, and cassettes myself. So, I love to to open up a vinyl and just sniff it. That plastic smell that you get on a vinyl. I think the digital age is inevitable. I think it inevitably will take over because of just the way the world is. That easy access, feed me now mentality that we have with social media and things like that. But I hope it doesn't take over. I really hope it doesn't, because now releasing an album, before on the first Shrapnel album, it was very much like 2014. Spotify, I think, released in 2015. Yeah. So it was hard album sales, like, okay, you've sold this many albums, you've done this, you've played this many shows. Now it's how many streams have you done? Yeah. And having to be from probably one of the bigger thrash bands in the UK, but still having to try and build like this following on a whole different platform, as well as trying to get people to buy physical copies. It's a whole nother mind trick. You're sitting there, you're like, what do we do? Yeah. Trying to appeal to a younger audience, especially because that's who use it most of all, is a younger audience. Yeah. And a lot of those guys don't care about thrash. Yeah. So it's really difficult.
Now, how do you guys sort of keep yourself sort of relevant?
I don't know, really. I mean, I think we've fallen lucky. We've released an album that sold out 4 times. Yeah. Went to #1 on Amazon thrash charts. I think we've fallen lucky with this album. which is weird because we were worried about releasing it during the pandemic, but Candlelight was saying, no, just do it. What can you do? You delay it, and then, you know. We felt lucky, but we keep ourselves relevant, you know, on social media, the obvious sites. We also believe in the whole reaching out to people one-to-one.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing better than, instead of being like getting a mass message sent or a mass email or looking at a Facebook post that doesn't, you know, appeal to you as a person whatsoever, talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, ask them what they're like, what they're listening to. In a way, you know, share music that way. Ask them what they're listening to, get them to send you something.
Yeah.
You send them something. It's the best way to do it, man. Keep it old school, but do it in a modern format.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, obviously, the fact, obviously, you know, how this interview came about was obviously you contacting me, and it's one of those things where I think it is always useful. Like, you know, I mean, as a PR rep myself. For bands just to be as active as your PR company in sort of getting out there and sort of speaking to people and things like that. So obviously, you know, it's your product that you're selling, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. When it comes to the business side of it, it is a product. You know, be it PR, record label, management. You know, you have to get your business head on, and I hate that. I really hate it. I have to do that in my job all the time, and I don't want to do it with my music, but that's just the way it is. You know, I prefer, you know, doing things like this, the interview, where I can just sort of like sit back and talk to people and have a laugh, you know, because that's, for me, that's what metal's about: drinking beer, playing shows, sweating it out, having a laugh.
Yeah, man.
If people buy my music in the meantime, then fucking awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, we've sort of spoke a little bit, and there's a few bands that we've sort of we've brought up within the UK music scene. But obviously, is there anybody that you're sort of looking at as you know, joining you guys rising, that you feel is the next big thing in your opinion?
There's a few. You know, you got great new smaller thrash bands popping up now. You've got Militia, Riptide. You've got Infran from Edinburgh. You know, they're all doing really well. But Devastator from Derby have just released a banging album, and you know, it's different. Again, this is what we were talking about earlier, when you slightly change the nuance of the music. So they're thrash, but they've got almost like a black and roll Motorhead feel to it as well. And it's just something different about it. So Devastator, I'm keeping my eye on those guys, and I love them to bits as well. You know, Big Tom C is fantastic. We both share our interest in Angel Ripper and Sodom. Yeah. So, I mean, once this is all over, you know, we're hoping to take those guys out with us for a UK run. Right. And, yeah. So Devastator's a big one.
Awesome.
Get them on the show, man.
Nice one, man. Well, obviously, you know, you've just sort of mentioned about, obviously, you know, what you kind of want to do and get it back out on the road and things like that. Have you guys got any plans after we've fucked off this COVID thing? Have you guys got any shows already locked in and things like that? Anything that we can announce?
Well, we've got a show in Plymouth with Evil and Fecal Juice with Bats. September 2021, off the top of my head. Okay. We're also playing with Evil and Gamma Bomb on October sometime. I can't remember the exact date because it's all up in the air at the moment. But that's going to be a great show. You know, three of the biggest UK thrash bands all in one place. Yeah. Definitely, let's get there for some face noise. But at the moment, we're booking stuff. It's happening, but it's a lot of pipeline dreams at the moment. Awesome. Because of the virus, no one knows what they're doing. You know, we're in talks with booking agencies and management companies, etc. But everyone's in the same boat. You know, what can you do?
I say it's one of those things. I mean, I've sort of found trying to book some gigs and things like that. So like promoters and venues and stuff, they're happy to sort of go, yes, I want it, but they're like, obviously they can't commit because they don't know. You know,
we're all, you know, we all have to abide by the law, and if the law is doing what it is to keep us safe, then, you know, who should we be to say, no, that's shit, we want to do this? Yeah. So, you know, once it's all ready and once everything's safe, then we'll come back. We'll come back and we'll be a force to be reckoned with, because, you know, we've released this album, we're ready to start slamming that around venues and in the UK and Europe, because that'll be happening more. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, obviously, we sort of brought up about your new single, Begin Again. So, obviously, it's the third single taken from Palace for the Insane. It was released 5 days ago.
Was it 5 days ago? I've lost track of time, mate.
It's a very different track from the rest of the album, and it comes packaged really nicely with some fantastic imagery. So just tell us a little bit more about the song and the video. I know you sort of touched on it earlier, but just sort of tell us a little bit more about it.
So, I mean, when we were all friends with a guy, or close friends with a guy called Dave Ingram, who done wonders for the UK metal scene and thrash scene. Yeah. Sort of like in the early 2010s, you know, he had a festival in Wakefield called Full Thrash Assault, and he used to support all the bands that are on there, from no matter how small they were to even if they were starting to get signed to record labels. He was the guy, you know, he was the super fan. Yeah. Unfortunately, he struggled a lot with mental health and committed suicide 2 years ago, and that hit us all really hard. You know, because we were talking to him but weeks beforehand, and you know, you sit there and you wonder, is there something you could have done, and that kind of ate us up for a bit. That ate us up, you know. So the way we thought about doing, you know, him and Honor would be recording a song, not necessarily about him, in a way, but for him, and people who are in that situation, you know, because there is a stigma about mental health and people don't talk about it, and it shouldn't be that way. So is the song, you know, if you follow the music video and you watch it, you know, it's very much about that depression, that lull into society, and how it makes you feel, how your thoughts make you feel, how alcohol and drugs can make you feel. But it's also got that slow midsection with that tool-less bass line, which then picks up at the end with the solo. Yeah. And you know, it's supposed to be a pick-me-up to everybody, being like, you know, it's okay, you talk, you've got family, you know, you don't have to bear the cross yourself. Yeah, we want it to be a pick-me-up rather than a downer. Yeah. So yeah, but we've all suffered from mental health. You know, everyone in life, I should imagine, has in one way or another. Yeah. And we just want it to be sort of like another way of saying it's okay to talk about it. Yeah, and for Dave, you know.
Nice one, man. Well, any final thoughts or plugs or messages for Shrapnel fans, or for those that are new to the band?
Yeah, man. Thank you to everybody, because, you know, we dropped the album in a super weird time, and to be honest, we didn't think it was going to do as well as it did. We knew we were sitting on something special, but we didn't know how it was going to go about. And the album reached #1 on Amazon. It sold out 4 times, you know. With the reception's been amazing. Just keep sharing the word and keep spreading the love, because, you know, we adore you guys, and without them, you know, we'd be nothing. So keep it up, and we'll see you in late 2020 or 2021. We'll come and wreck your town. Drink all your beer.
Nice, man. Well, thank you so much, man, for obviously your time, for chatting with us here at the Razor's Edge.
No, thank you, dude. That's awesome. Keep up the good work. Much love.
Take care.
Bye.
Strip the cover on nails, wrapped in velvet.